pleasure to welcome now Representative Rob Roberson, serves in the Mississippi House of Representatives, of course, represents District 43, and serves as the chair of the House Education Committee. Representative Roberson, always good to see you, sir. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me. I always like coming here and discussing education and all the big events that are going on around it.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate it because there's been a lot of activity.
We've had a lot of stuff going on.
We have a lot. It's been another active session. Of course, a lot of it, as you well know, is kind of picking up from where we left off last year.
Yes, sir.
Stuff that didn't see it all the way to the finish line, and here we go again. But you've been heavily involved in a number of high-profile measures as the chairman of the Education Committee, and we should point out first that in terms of general fund spending, education constitutes a little more than 50%, right? 53, 55%.
Largest budget we have that we get out. And anybody that says that Mississippi doesn't care or doesn't put their money where their mouth is, they're not looking at how we budget.
Yeah, it's a good point, because when you look at the way the money goes out the door, education is top of the list.
That is. And, what's amazing to me is we've got such good strides. We are headed in the right direction. I mean, it's amazing to me that we are able to look at things 10 or 15 years ago and see the gains. We are number one on a couple of the national measures that have come out recently, and number one or kind of in the middle of the pack when it comes to actually what we're doing. But we're number one in the movement in our people. And not only that, what's more important is that at the 8th grade we're sustaining. And to me, that's probably the most important part of the study that I saw the other day, was that we are sustaining when they hit the 8th grade. So we're on the right track. I'm always fearful of unintended consequences, that we may get off the right track or make a mistake. But that's the reason we come back every year. We come back to make certain that we do put our kids first and make certain that our teachers get the support they need.
Well, the governor, of course, rightfully pointed that out, touted the progress we've made in that realm. He always likes to talk about that. It is something to be proud of, because we haven't had the best reputation, let's be honest, in education in our state.
We really hadn't. And the truth is, as much success as we may have had, my intentions are for us to get better.
Sure.
That we should never lay down and say, oh, we've done it. That is not where we should ever be. I often like to, coming from Starkville and SEC town, I used to watch any Alabama coach, and I would always say when they would come out of a win, whether it be Bear Bryant or any coach that's been there, they always were negative about something. They would always come out and say that this is what we need to do better. And in a sense, I think that for our education system, I don't want to suggest that we always come out negative, but what I do want to suggest is we always come out saying we can do better.
Yeah. Well, you're right, and that this just means you got to keep working at it, and it's not perfect, never going to be perfect, but that doesn't mean you stop working on it and trying to make it perfect. That's our goal.
I agree.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about the rather controversial topic of school choice, something you and I have discussed many times. I know the speaker in particular is really high on that and would like to see us expand the school choice options here in the state of Mississippi. You guys are well aware the states around us have been busy enacting legislation that is dramatically expanding school choice.
We've got an awful lot of things, and I want to be clear. We've actually been doing some school choice type things. School choice is a weird word. When you use it with some people, they go one direction. When you use it with someone else, they may go a totally different direction.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to me because we've got a bill that we're heavily involved in this year called we're calling it portability, but it's public school to public school.
Yep.
That is a school choice bill.
Sure.
And now, will it change the world? No. But will it give an opportunity for a family that maybe the mom's working in another county to be able to move her child to that county because it's just easier for her? And assuming that school district will take that child, one of the main issues with that particular bill is the school that will lose that child doesn't have a say-so in it, but the school that is accepting that child has to have the capacity to accept it. In other words, if they don't have the ability to accept the child, then now we do have some guardrails in there that suggest that you're not going to, you can't dismiss this child from because of grades, or for that matter, for anything that's illegal in general, whether that be for race, sex, or any of the other things that are attached to that. But the bottom line is, it does give us some freedom in that direction. We also have some bills that affected our military, and allowing them to go to a different school district that works for them. Now, the one bill that's out there that we're still having some discussions about are 1433. That's one of probably the biggest. I guess if I've gotten a lot of text on, that's probably the one I've gotten the most text on. That is a DNF district. If you've got a child that's in a DNF district and there is not a school or A or B school within the 30 miles, then you will be able to take your money, the money you get from the state, and that money could follow that child to a private school. Now, that being said, we're still working on details. There's issues on the House side that we're still trying to work out. That bill may change a little bit. That bill may not go anywhere. But the main thing that we need to do is continue talking about these things. You're right. All around us, you didn't take a rocket science to figure this out. School choice is, however you want to look at it, if it's a trend or if it's the flavor of the day, whatever it is, or if it's a long-term fix for us, it's there, and we're going to have to deal with it. And pretending it doesn't exist is not going to help anybody. We have to have conversations. If I believed that was the silver bullet to fix everything in Mississippi, I would have already I would have tried to figure out a way to make that work.
Sure.
But there are some issues that follow behind that, and I certainly don't want to discount those issues if there's ways for us to try to fix them.
Yeah. So let's clarify that, because we've been reading it. We've got lots of questions the last couple of days. We've been discussing this on the program. Sometimes I feel like we confuse district with school.
Right.
Right. So this legislation would allow students to move from either, is that right?
Correct.
Either a D or F school district or a D or F school.
Correct. It could go either way.
Okay.
And to be honest with you, in terms of how we're looking at it, this could be sucked in a little bit in terms of where you could be able to go before this is over with. So
sure.
The process is still not through.
But as originally drafted, that's the idea.
Yes,
if you're
sir.
in a D or F district or school.
That's right.
So you could literally be, let's say, for example, in a C school in a D district, and you would be eligible to transfer. And all that really means is that the transferring school, the transferor, I think is the legal term for that, couldn't block it.
Right.
Right?
That's right.
So we're just basically saying you can't preclude that transfer.
That's exactly right.
But on the other end, the transferee school, the school that would receive the student, they've got some latitude in that decision as well, right? Like based on capacity, you guys get into that. I think they have to tell you what their capacity is and stuff like that.
All we want them to do is put this stuff out on their internet and on MDE. Let us know what that is.
Okay.
We just want to know how they're making the decision on that, and it's left up to the school district how they do it.
Okay. And so let's go beyond that. That just trying to get who would be eligible, and the fact that we're taking the homeschool out of the equation. You can't block this.
Right.
All right. So the other piece of this is that they could take their state allocated funds,
Correct.
which is around what, $6,900 now.
They rounded up 69.
Okay, all right, and that could follow them to a private school. I want to make sure I get this right. A so-called education savings account, provided there's not, what'd you say, an A or a B school within
It's close.
A public school.
Correct.
Within a certain
30
distance.
miles.
30 miles. All right, so example would be Wilkinson County School District, I believe, is an F-rated school right now. Yeah, I got a student there, and they want to transfer, for argument's sake, to a private school. You look at the 30-mile radius around them. There's no A or B public school. Therefore, they would be eligible to receive their state-allocated $6,900 to apply towards tuition to a private school.
That is correct. And another piece of the financial side of this is that we were going to try to create a a fund that from the state that helped with the millage that would be
the local
lost,
portion.
The local portion.
Well, that was
Correct.
the other question I was going to ask you, because the local portion stays with the transferring school.
That's correct.
And they don't. The receiving school doesn't get the local portion for the transferring student.
You're there.
Okay.
Exactly.
We got Rob Roberson from the Mississippi House of Representatives, chairs the Education Committee in the House. We're coming right back. We got Representative Rob Roberson, the chairman of the Education Committee in the House of Representatives. So, just kind of summarizing and recapping this. It's kind of a limited school choice, maybe a slight expansion of existing school choice options, ESAs we have in the state right now, only available to children with special needs and dyslexia, and we ain't putting enough money in that pot to get the deadgum logjam.
Hopefully, we're going to fix that.
I hope we get that, because I think even those who sort of oppose school choice on both sides there in the Capitol see the need to do that. You got a waiting list.
I agree with you. I think that's one of the better things in terms of both sides agreeing on.
Yeah.
When you have a child with a special need that can be fulfilled somewhere else, that's, to me, a no-brainer.
I agree. I totally agree. All right, so this aspect of this legislation, HB, what is it, 1533?
1433.
1433, pardon me. So this aspect that would allow the student in a D or F school or district to go to a private school, their money follows them, and then you cover the local portion, the state covers the local portion. We should also point out the private school has to meet certain accreditation standards. It's always a question, right?
They have to have some accreditation standards, and for this particular bill that we're talking about, it prioritizes low-income kids. We prioritize those children from the get-go. That's not to say that someone else might, but whatever money we put into this, they're going to be the priority. Wealthy people already have school choice.
Right.
They can do whatever they want to do. And one of the things that we had a conversation about, if we're going to go down this road, I want to have the conversation about how do we help that single mother that may be in a bad situation in a school district that she wants to send her kid somewhere else. And that's something that's very important to us. Now, here's the flip side of that. And I know this. There may not be a private school in certain areas within a reasonable amount. What are you doing to help that child? And the truth is, I don't know. Yeah. I'm certainly not trying to suggest to you this. Yeah. This has got all the perfections of what we need it to be, but the reality is we got to do something at some point.
That's right. The idea is to let the parents and the families figure that out. What the best setting is. That's honestly that's the entire underlying principle of school choice.
That's
right there.
That's it.
Let's talk about this other measure that I think you have authored as well that would dictate some school district consolidation. Tell us about that.
The bill that I had planned basically said that we have 82 counties. We're going to have 82 school districts. The intent was to take as much of the smaller districts especially and pull them together and have these children be able to have more of an impact with the money they have. Now, this was administrative, so it really didn't force the school district itself, each school, to combine. It was administratively done, and the hope is that administrator would look at what he has to deal with, and then, if it works, pull those schools together. When we've got school districts, and some folks don't realize this, but we've got schools that only have 500 kids in it. I've got a district that has 500 kids in it. The reality is, and that's not one school. I'm talking about a district.
Yep.
The reality is that school is not going to be successful, and it's nothing we can do as a state to put enough money into it to make it successful.
Right.
Because they don't have a millage rate there. They don't have the economic development. You usually have a situation where you're losing population. So it's just a matter of time before that school's probably going to collapse because it can't keep its infrastructure up. Mm-hmm. So we've got to stop pretending that as the adults that run this state, we've got to stop pretending that just because you have this little school that may be operating in a CD area today and we continue losing a population there, it ain't going to work. It's not going to sustain itself. In Oktibbeha County, we consolidated the whole county. It was hard. I'm not going to sit here and tell our folks out there that it's not hard. But real leaders stand in and stand up and push forward what's right for their kids. And there's nobody in their right mind that looks at what we have currently and would say, oh, this is operating efficiently.
How many do we have? 140?
We've got around 140. I've heard the numbers a little less than that since we've reduced some, but I'd just soon say 140 at this point, because the reality is, and I'm not stuck at 82. I'll be honest with you. If MDE gets involved in this, and that may be what we transform this into, is asking MDE to help us pull this together, target the schools that only have 500 to 1,000 kids. What do we need to do with those? What
happens to the boards of each specific district? You got two boards, two districts. For example, let's say a city and a county. Let's use my county of Madison. We got Madison County School District, Canton Public School District. Those come together, two boards. What happens?
In that situation, they would have to work together at first. But if you had a district that was an F and you had a district that was an A, my knee jerk is whatever district that's doing well, I want them to have the advantage in terms of making decisions. However, you still have to give the people that live in that other part some representation.
Does the bill prescribe that, lay that out, tell you how you got to?
Supervisors' districts. In the particular bill we're having, it goes to supervisors' districts, and you elect them from that.
So we'd have 5 board members of each school district, just as we have 5 supervisors running a county,
That's right?
Okay. And so it just mapped to that.
This bill was intended to be as somewhat of a no-brainer as you possibly could have, in terms of, well, you already have this set up, why not use this?
Yeah, that's the roadmap for it. Okay. Well, that was one big question I had, is how do you deal with the governance aspect of that? Is the goal, though, Representative Roberson, I think something that the people of Mississippi want to hear is that it seems like we got a lot of back office overhead. We got superintendents and administrators and buildings and lots of money going to that purpose. Is that one of the goals here, is to eliminate a lot of the duplicate spending?
Well, all right, my knee jerk on this is to say that, sure, it's going to save money. But I want to capture that money, put it in a fund, and try to put for our districts that are struggling for brick and mortar. So if we could have a situation, let's say we saved $30 million, we could take that money, and for the districts that have holes in their roofs or they have air conditioners that are not working in the summertime, we could take that money and use it in that facility and have the ability to fix some of the things without expanding our budget continuously, but we're operating more efficiently.
Okay, so thinking about the funding formula, which was really upended last year, I think dramatically improved as a matter of fact, how would it change it? So I think about state level spending. You got the components of state funding and local funding. That's how we operate our schools, fund our schools. But based on the funding formula, it's a student-based funding formula, so we're not changing the number of students. So even if we eliminate some of the duplicate back office, we're not really changing. You'd have to change the funding formula.
Right. We have every intention of funding that.
You're sending the same amount of money even though we're eliminating a lot of the overhead. So is the idea then, Representative Roberson, to push that money into the classroom?
You got it. And if you've ever run a business and you looked at how you were operating and you could save some money and there was a way that you could make your business better, you would do this. The problem that we have is that we've gotten so centered in protectionism, and we've got our own little fiefdoms over here, that we've got to do a better job of explaining that I'm not trying to necessarily take money out of education. I'm trying to take money and efficiently use it for what it's intended for. And this consolidation issue, as much as the pushback that you're going to get from a local community, the leaders of this state and us looking at this and what's in the best interest of our children, we're going to have to look at this.
I just want the people to know that you've heard this 100 times more than I have, but I hear it a lot because of our text line, and we're talking to a statewide audience. We got too much overhead in our schools operating model. We need to consolidate districts and get rid of a lot of that back office, administrative, central office, superintendent's office overhead. You've heard it.
I've heard it every day.
I'm sure you have. So I think the belief, though, or the perception, let's put it that way, would be, wow, if we consolidate districts, we're going to reduce spending at the state level.
That is not my intent.
Okay.
It's not my intent.
So we're not really saving money at the state level. We're just repurposing the money. We're redirecting the money.
We could take the money that we're currently spending and have the best school system in the nation. I believe that. We are wasting a tremendous amount of money. And some of these folks that are superintendents in schools that are too small, these are good superintendents. We can take them and use them somewhere else.
Sure, for another purpose. Okay, so I just want to make sure, though, that we're not changing the way we're allocating money to education from the state level. This exercise, this bill, should it be enacted, would not change that.
Not change it at all.
We're not cutting spending at the state level. We're just reallocating how it's spent.
That's right.
With the intention of improving the quality of education.
That's 100% correct.
Okay. Just want to make sure. And to those who are worried about losing money as a part of this process, I think your message is, no, we're sending the same amount of money to educate the same amount of kids in your schools.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's what we're doing. Got it.
Representative Rob Roberson's been our guest. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Good discussion. Yes, sir. Coming right back, folks, in the element.